Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. Thank you for being here. We're glad you're here. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, looking sharp. Joined by Jeff Marchiafava.
That's me.
Joined by Janet New Glasses Garcia.
Hi.
New Glasses Who Dis, as a lot of people like to say. Janet, thank you for being here. Are you feeling the heat? You feeling stressed out, Janet? I feel like out of maybe anybody, you are sprinting with embargoes and playing games, and we are in like full fall review season right now.
Yeah, it's rough. I'm doing pretty well until then. I'm not. Like all of yesterday, I'm like, this is like the most productive, balanced day. I'm eating my food. I'm cleaning up the apartment. I'm doing my work.
There we go.
And then I get to the end of the night and I'm like, I just feel like I haven't done as much as I wanted to, and that there's no winning. So why am I trying? And then my boyfriend's like, well, that's scary, but also not too unfamiliar because I've been waiting for like a mental break to happen at some point. But now I'm back and we're here and we're working still. I mean, for the next like 2 weeks.
Are you able to? You're able to just like refresh things and realize like, no, I'm playing these games because they're fun, right? Or are you just full on like, this is a company, I'm a one-woman business, let's go?
I mean, I'm right now I'm playing for content. Like,
yeah.
I think people always like say like, oh, but you'd never play a game like that, like this if for casually. It's like, yeah, when I play games casually, they take me like 5 years to finish sometimes.
Right.
Like, that doesn't make sense for content. Like Uncharted 4, I was playing that game for like 3 years and everyone's like, why is it taking so long? I'm like, cause I'm not playing this for work. So yeah, I mean, Mario plus Rabbids, some of the games we'll talk about this week, next week, whatever. Cool games. This is a cool field, but yes, does require a form of structure that engaging with it on a hobby level doesn't necessarily require.
Yeah, it can be stressful.
Structure can be stressful, yes.
Yeah,
so
I get it. By the way, the biggest game on the horizon, God of War Ragnarok. We can reveal that we have codes. Some of us have been playing. We can't fully talk about it on this podcast. But personally, I'm in a camp where I don't want to talk about it on this podcast in a big way until it's actually out so we can kick off the deepest dive. Because we are, in fact, taking the deepest dive into God of War Ragnarok, breaking that sucker up into 3 parts for a gigantic community game club. And you can play along with us. We'd love to read your comments directly on the show. So if you're a Patreon supporter, not only do you unlock the podcast version of the best, most thorough discussion about God of War Ragnarok on the internet, but then also you can submit your thoughts and we'll read them along the way. And we'll reveal that cast, that colorful cast of characters that'll be joining us for that big discussion soon, but it should be a fun one. Okay, on this episode of the podcast, first of all, people watching us live at the Backstage Pass here, I agree that I effed up and we should start the whole show again because Starkiller says that I should have introduced you as Kyle Silent Hilliard. I blew it. God, I blew it. But we'll be talking about Silent Hill. There's Silent Hill news, everybody. Like, real news. These aren't like rumors and leaks and whispers.
And a lot.
We have a lot to dissect with Silent Hill. We're going back to Silent Hill, everybody.
We're returning. We're returning to Silent
That's right.
Hill.
The way to phrase it. Then we're going to be talking about Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope out this week on the Nintendo Switch. We've all been playing it, and I don't want to spoil anything, but all been loving it. Then Kyle insists that we talk about... Okay, I will. Kyle insists that we then talk about Pilotwings 64 for at least 30 minutes, so we're going to get to that.
The majority of the show, yeah, if we can.
Okay, yeah. We'll be talking about Dragon Ball The Breakers. We'll be talking a little bit about Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed as well, and then Leo Vader is going to join us and talk about some Overwatch 2, finally. And then the back half of the show, we have wonderful community questions from Patreon supporters. This is it. This is a fun day. We're recording this right after the big Silent Hill transmission, the big Silent Hill showcase. Isn't it just nice to have like real news? It's been, Kyle, how many years of whispers about like, you know what they're doing with the Silent Hill? I heard that Bloober Team might be involved in some way.
I mean, the second the PT stuff collapsed, I think it just the rumor mill like kicked up in overdrive, like more than most franchises, I feel like.
Yeah, so it's satisfying to finally get new announcements with this whole thing. Let's run them down. Let's count them off. So Silent Hill fans, this is your time to shine, everybody. We are getting a remake of Silent Hill 2 from Bloober Team, which we'll unpack a little bit. Then we're getting Silent Hill Townfall, which is a game from Annapurna and then No Code, who are the developers of Stories Untold and Observation, if you remember those games. That's going to be your artsy Silent Hill. Seems live action-y, seems a little bit mysterious. Then we're getting a new movie called Return to Silent Hill. Then we're getting Silent Hill Ascension, which is, it seems like a text-based shared experience live game from Bad Robot and other folks. And then we're
just saying words.
It's really a lot. Then we're also getting Silent Hill F, which is a new Silent Hill game from the developers of Resident Evil Reverse, which is interesting, even though that game's not technically out yet. But this is a Silent Hill game that is taking place in Japan in the 1960s. So here you go, world. Silent Hill-a-Palooza. Kyle, I haven't checked Twitter. How's everybody reacting? How's everybody doing out there?
Everyone is mad that there's too much now.
I think
classic. What are the two tragedies in life? Not getting what you want and getting it.
It's really bizarre. I was thinking about it today where I was taking notes during the stream and everything and thinking about all these announcements and how fans are reacting. And I realized that my own notes were taking a negative tone. Then I was like, you know what? It's new Silent Hill games, everybody. I understand there's going to be room to criticize it, but this is exactly what's wrong with this industry at times. Is they're like, I don't know, Konami, make new Silent Hill games. And Konami says, hey, here's 1 million new Silent Hill games. And then everyone says, yeah, but Bloober Teams had a couple 7 out of 10s, so I don't know anymore. I don't know about this remake of Silent Hill 2.
You know, Konami is like, I told you that they weren't going to want it. I knew they wouldn't want it. They kept asking.
Cancel them all.
Yeah. Kyle, which one is the most exciting for you, do you think?
Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Pretty handily, like without question. Like that's really, like, if you had asked me like a month ago, what do you want? What is it that you want? What do you want from Silent Hill? I'd be like, I want to be able to play Silent Hill 2 like properly in the year 2022. And it whether that's a remake or like a nice remaster of the original. So that to me, like just seeing a lot of those familiar scenes from Silent Hill 2 and this new these new visuals, which look very good. Like, yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, it's coming out on PC and PS5.
I feel like 90% of Silent Hill fans are just Silent Hill 2 fans. Does that seem accurate?
Or at 1, 2, and like a little of 3, and then after that, they're like, I don't know, I rented the room.
Well, it was I rented the room. Walter Sullivan. The weird thing is, we did a live reaction stream. You can watch us react live to all of these things on our YouTube channel. And there are a lot of people that are like, what? You're remaking the second one? Like, people are ready to like get back in with Silent Hill, and they wanted to start with the first one naturally. But I think it's a smart move. They can always go back in time and remake Silent Hill 1 at some point, right?
Well, they did already, kind of.
Oh, that's true.
That Wii game.
Yeah.
So, which everyone forgets about. And I never played, admittedly. But 2, like Jeffem said, 2 is the best Silent Hill game. So do that one.
Yeah. Janet, I don't know if you're a Silent Hill fan, but did anything stand out to you about the Silent Hill 2 footage that they revealed?
No, I mean, it looks fine, right? Like, it looks like a remade modern game, but Bloober Team has not made anything that I thought was good so far. I've only played 2 of their games, a little bit of, oh my gosh, I always wear the sweater, but today I'm not wearing it. Oh my God, what's the name?
Lair of Fear?
Evil in the Woods or something. Right?
Blair Witch?
Well, there's Blair Witch. There's
Blair
the
Witch.
Medium. Okay.
Blair Witch I played like maybe 10 minutes of, and I'm like, this game is not good, so I'm not going to continue. Sometimes I do that. It's contrary to popular belief. You should see what I haven't finished. It's rough. And then Medium was very like mid as well. But I think they're
that's where they got the
upward.
name of the game from. So.
That's right.
I know, right? There's many jokes to be had, and I think my community's ran through all of them because that became like a constantly referenced, like a perfectly, like this could have been good, and yet it wasn't in many different ways.
Right.
So I guess the question is like, do we think this is going to be good? I mean, it is a remake of a game that people already like, so can it be messed up?
Yeah, and I guess
I feel it's a cursed question, but what do y'all think as fans of the franchise?
Yeah,
I'm optimistic. I am. I think Bloober, like, I'm with you in that, like, nothing that they've made has really, like, sung to me or been super exciting. But there's, like, a lot of technical proficiency there, and it feels like a developer where you play each of its games and you're like, one of these things is going to take off and be a hit and be a showcase for what they can do. And I'm optimistic that it could be this remake because they have the blueprints to work with a very cool game.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, they're emphasizing, hey, original talent still involved here. We have the composer, Yamaoka, who's legendary, and he had a little vignette in this showcase video talking about how it seemed like he said it has new musical style and will have new challenges. So it seems like out of anybody, he's maybe taking the most creative license for changing some stuff up. But then they also said, hey, we also have Masahiro Ito, who is kind of the legendary creature designer for Silent Hill, and they'll be coming back for the remake of Silent Hill 2. So, fans of Metal Gear Survive and the creature design in that game have a lot to celebrate because that was his finest work, Kyle, as you know. You just played it this year.
There is a gigantic creature that kind of just walks around and Survive that is very cool and very Silent Hilly. So
there we go. He hasn't left it really. But yeah, it's a PS5 and then also on PC. And yeah, I'm curious to hear what the hardcore fans think about it. It's weird to see like James's face. It's a little bit like that Mario movie trailer thing where there's a lot of squinting about like, it looks old. His hair kind of looks weird, but I guess it's nice to have a good-looking version of Silent Hill 2. So I don't think they gave a year or a window for release. Jeff, do you remember anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think they're that far along.
Yeah.
It did have a weird disclaimer asterisk on it where it was like, coming to PlayStation 5 exclusively, PC, console exclusive for 12 months. It actually said that.
Oh, is that right?
Page. It was weird. So
okay. Yeah,
I mean what that means, but
in terms of gameplay, Bloober said, hey, we're big fans of the original. We don't want to change too much. We are making the camera over the shoulder. So think of it more like a Resident Evil style instead of the more direct camera and all that stuff. But Jeff, you grew skeptical during this presentation during the whole section where they're talking about Return to Silent Hill, which is a new Silent Hill movie that they're making. And relay to us why that was interesting.
Well, they set it up in such a weird way, and maybe things were getting lost in translation or something, but they had, the Konami person coming out for like the movie franchises, I guess, and he was like, hey, we've been kind of sitting on the franchise for a long time, and then like the original director came and he had an idea for a new Silent Hill movie, and it really inspired us. And so we started working with him on this new movie, and then it's such an inspiration that we thought, hey, maybe this isn't just a movie. Maybe it has to kind of extend into games as well, because it's such a great idea. And then they brought the director out and he started talking about it. And it's just a remake of the Silent Hill 2 into a movie. And it's like, right. How is this like the most inspirational thing you've ever seen? That's like, you needed someone to come up to you after 20 years and say, hey, that Silent Hill 2 was actually pretty good. And then they thought, oh man, we should be making these games again.
It is kind of gross. It still had shades of that idea of like, what? Hollywood came calling? It's like, I thought as the games industry, we were above that at this point. But the fact that Konami's like, hello, mediocre director from the 2006 Silent Hill movie, you want to make a new one? Well, now we're all excited about Silent Hill again. It's kind of sad.
And by the way, we will conveniently completely not mention the 2012 movie. Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's already forgot.
Silent Hill Revelation, which to be fair, he did not direct. But I was looking at, so it's Christoph Gans, the director. He directed a Beauty and the Beast film in 2014. I think that was his last directing credit. And it was not glowingly received. I mean, I'm sure he's a talented bloke, but it just feels kind of like old Hollywood. And then like the producer got out there as well. And he had a line. He says, Christoph, talking about the film's director, Christoph is a real gamer. And that's like their pitch for like why this movie is going to be good. That's why people like that first Silent Hill movie from 2006, because you can tell he's a gamer. It's like, okay, we're so beyond this, right?
I think it was kind of endemic of a lot of those announcements in there where they kind of prefaced each one saying, hey, this other developer came to us with this really good idea and this passion for our franchise. And so like, finally, we just started kind of saying okay to some of these people. And that still doesn't instill me with a lot of confidence. Because they literally said like, oh, every year so many people come to us with ideas for our franchise. And it's like, I want one of those people to be at the top of your company and, putting more force behind this new initiative that you have, other than just like, because at this point, I don't have a ton of confidence for Konami to be able to pick the right people to make games and then kind of shepherd them in the right direction while giving them the creative freedom that they need to take the franchise in different places and in order to make their games good. And I just don't. Annapurna's great. Like most of those announcements were great, and like Kyle, I hope that Bloober Team can pull it off. But on the Konami side of things, that's where my biggest worries still kind of lie.
Yeah, it was kind of fun just to see a presentation though where they would splash the big red Konami logo on the screen every once in a while. It's like, okay, maybe Konami is kind of back. And then they spend 10 minutes talking about this movie more than anything else, and then they also had. It felt like a lifetime just literally walking through new Silent Hill merchandise and the details of why you need to buy this. It's like,
that's when they really lit up of like, okay, now here are 20 different statues of all these characters. This is what we're going to spend our time talking about.
Yeah, I did like the dog statue. That's a
look. No one's arguing with the Silent Hill 2 dog statue.
You can see our reaction on that one. That was when we all changed. We were like, yeah, okay, that's pretty good.
But I mean,
how many of these statues are you guys going to buy?
Most of them, I think. Yeah, I can't help it. We got to help fund that film, so anything we got to do on our end. But it's scary, I think, thinking of Konami in this spot or in this worldview where it takes the idea of this Hollywood movie for them to get off their butts. And obviously, in the back of my mind, I'm still always thinking of Metal Gear and that simmering Metal Gear Solid. Thank you, the Metal Gear Solid movie from Sony, which. The director announced it years ago. Oscar Isaac's going to play Solid Snake. And that's just been somewhere on Sony's to-do list. And so, I wonder if that movie ever gets greenlit in a bigger way and actually moves into production, if that would then kick Konami into gear to boot up reboots or remakes, whatever they're cooking up with Metal Gear, which there's plenty of rumors around that now. So that'll be the rest of our lives, I think, is just teasing out what Konami might be thinking about. And it's damning to know that they're only coming back to Silent Hill because of this movie. But hey, all power to them.
Well, hold on, real quick.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's just because of the movie?
That's what they said.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, they
I
said
thought the remake had been in development for many years at this point.
No, they said the film was the catalyst for getting the new Silent Hill games into production. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that specific detail. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
And again, I mean, as Jeff said, maybe it's a translation
that might
thing.
just be messaging or translation things, but
it's tough to lock down. But it's interesting choices, like having developers of. Oh boy, Observer. What's the other game that I mentioned earlier again?
Stories Untold.
Stories Untold. Like that's an Annapurna. That's a really interesting choice for this funky style game. And then the big tease at the end of Silent Hill F. That one's like, I think that's maybe what I'm the most curious about. And I guess that is
Did people put Fs in the chat when they announced that? Because it seems like
lit up.
That's what would happen.
They lit up. The early teaser concept trailer looks cool. And the idea is this is a Silent Hill game taking place in Japan in the 1960s with a bunch of...
Yeah, I love that idea, by the way, because despite Silent Hill being very much developed by Japanese developers, it's always kind of been this alternate view of America in a strange way. Like what does the Japanese lens think of small town America?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that lens be faced toward Japan. It's a very intriguing tease, even though there's not much to go on in terms of what the game will be.
Yeah, the developer of Resident Evil Reverse, I don't think anybody was lit up by the betas for that thing, but maybe that comes out and everybody will love it. And, it seems like a different style of game. So I hope it's not a bait and switch. And it turns out this is another 4v1 style game. I hope it's more narrative driven because they emphasize the story there is from a renowned artist, visual novel artist, When They Cry. I guess is their work, and it's Ryukishi07 is their name. So they have some interesting talent behind it and stuff. Silent Hill F.
I ran into this problem a few months ago. So I'm going to ask y'all because I don't remember what the answer people gave me was. If I want to get into the Silent Hill franchise in the modern era, what do I do? Because when I was trying to play it back on what was PS Now and what is now PS Plus Plus. I forget the real name. I always say the joke name.
No one knows.
And people were like, they're like, oh, just play that. It's like a fun one to try out. I was like, sure. And then everyone's like, no, that one's the bad version of a good game. What am I supposed to do for this? And then what do you recommend I do now with this this Curse 2?
Just wait. Just wait.
That's been the problem, is that there's no good way to really play Silent Hill 2. Even I tried to play it as recently as a year ago, and I bought the Xbox version off eBay, but the backwards compatible version is messed up. Like it's terrible, and the saves get all, if you save too much, it causes all these problems, and the fog doesn't look very good. So that's like the issue. That question is like why Silent Hill fans have been so frustrated, because there is no good way to play these great games. Like the best way I found was like there is a fan group that is sort of doing the fan remake, quote unquote, I guess, or revitalization of Silent Hill 2, and they have all these free mods and stuff you can add to the PC version of Silent Hill 2, and that's the best option right now. Which is
what about
like
the first one? Is it the same deal?
I think the first one you're in a little bit more luck because you can play it on like a PS3. You can like download the PlayStation 1 version and play it on PS3, but even that's like a crazy hurdle. So
and
that's
then when do I go through the Silent Hill experience that I have for PSP sealed that I've never opened?
What is that? Is
Silent Hill
that
experience?
This is Welcome to Silent Hill. The Silent Hill experience takes viewers on a visually stunning and musical ride into the shadowy depths of Silent Hill, combining different forms of media, including digital comics, music and video.
What?
The Silent Hill experience provides fans a unique look into one of the most terrifying game franchises of all time, featuring over 2 hours of digital comics based on the popular Silent Hill comic series, presented with haunting music. I cannot wait to open this thing. Includes the acclaimed comic series Silent Hill Dying Inside and a brand new Silent Hill Story the Hunger. Granted, brand new, big caveat there. Came out in 2006. It's not brand new anymore. 20 unforgettable tracks, exclusive video interview with the director of the Silent Hill movie, again,
it's our
video
boy,
content
Christoph.
from previous Silent Hill games.
So that's basically a DVD of special features about Silent Hill.
Okay, so that's where you start, Janet. Clearly, you start there, and then you move on
Is this
to
gonna have spoilers in it? Like, that's the
just
thing.
jump in, and then you move right to Silent Hill Book of Memories on the Vita, and those
machete
are your
order?
two. Yeah.
Open half of this and then download something on the PS3. I don't know.
Kyle, do you have any hope for that bizarre game where Jacob Novak got out there from GenVid? And this is confusing. If you remember your weird game industry history, he was the head of Shinra, which was the name of Square's cloud streaming technology. They named it Shinra.
Wow.
Well, the confusing thing is Square named the company Shinra, and it was a cloud streaming company, and for a while they were based out of Avalanche Studios. So it was like this swirl of Final Fantasy VII code names. Anyways, but Jacob Novak now... What was your read on Silent Hill Ascension and the fact that Bad Robot is involved in some way, Kyle?
Well, it's funny because, Silent Hill is a very like metaphorical series, and you can interpret it in different ways. And like, it was funny when you were sharing the rundown, you were like a text-based multiplayer. I was like, I didn't think that's what it was at all. I thought it was like a Dead by Daylight style like narrative multiplayer game or something like that. I don't know what to think of this thing.
It seems
but J.J.
like...
Abrams seems very excited about it, and I'm glad they had him available to offer
like, we have a message from J.J. Abrams. Then it fades to black and fades up, and it's literally just like a text on the screen that J.J. Abrams wrote. Some typos in there, maybe a winky face, and then that was it. But he's too busy working on Spy Jinx, that other mobile game from Bad Robot Kyle and Epic. He couldn't
Whatever
possibly.
He's doing with Valve, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You remember when they made that Super 8 interactive thing that came with Portal? That was weird.
Yeah, I played it. It's
cool. I
cool.
played it.
It's like 2 minutes long or something.
But yeah, so it's it launches in 2023, and it's a live, real-time interactive series. And the idea is fans can experience it together and shape official Silent Hill canon together.
Oh my God.
It feels like it's Silent Hill Blaseball. Is kind of the vibe that I'm getting from the pitch. But to be clear, they say, quote, together we're going to revolutionize what horror means in interactive media. So please.
And it's not Blaseball.
And it might not be Blaseball. Anyways, that's Silent Hill Ascension, everybody. Please look forward to it. Silent Hill's back! Be excited, Internet. This is your one chance before everyone just gets more and more negative forever about everything Bloober does.
Yeah, because you also know if, like, the first thing that comes out in this group, if it's even semi-mediocre, like the response to it, they're canceling everything else. Oh. They're shutting it all down.
Or if the movie can't get funding or something, then it's going to be like, Amazon passed, therefore goodbye Silent Hill 2 remake. Weird world we're in, everybody. Hey, this is a real game that's actually out, and you can play it as of later this week. This is Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, everybody. The sequel to Kingdom Battle. This is the new tactics game starring everybody's favorite Mario and everybody's favorite Rabbids together again, once and for all. Jeff, how much have you played of this thing? I'm very curious.
I'm like a third of the way through it.
Nice.
so far.
Nice. I'm like halfway through the third world is where I'm at. Kyle, what about you?
Finishing up that first world with the rainy planet.
Rainy planet. And then Janet, I know you've been having a very thorough run of this thing.
Yeah, I'm still on where I was on Monday because of everything else.
Sure.
The beginning of the third world, 16 hours of playtime, heavy completion for the first world, and that is heavy for the second.
Okay, gotcha. I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago after that preview event, but this game's good, right? Am I nuts?
No, I mean, why would you even ask that? It has like ridiculously good scores everywhere. I don't know anyone that doesn't think this game is good.
Oh, good. Honestly, I haven't really looked at too many of the reviews out there. They seem solid though.
Yeah, it's getting like a bunch of 9s from like plenty of outlets. Like,
that's awesome.
People love this game. I mean, I feel like people don't talk about it. It hasn't gotten a lot of hype, I feel like, in some ways.
It has, maybe once it launches and people, I think it'll have that same bump of like everyone who tried Kingdom Battle and they're like, oh, this is better than I thought it would be to have a Mario and Rabbids XCOM. And I feel like this is, based on my experience, quite a bit better than Kingdom Battle. I enjoyed Kingdom Battle, but I fell off it. And even starting this game, it's like, well, I liked what I played before, but I'm curious if I'm going to stick with it now going through it. But I'm having a blast. It's like so much hinges on whether or not kind of the RPG progression in this tactics game will have its hooks in you. But I'm enjoying the combat so much more than I expected. And like every upgrade I actually care about, which is really rare to do, especially for a Ubisoft game. But like I'm excited for every unlock that I can get because it's actually changing up the way that I'm playing minute to minute. And it's, no offense, I think the game is so good. Sometimes you forget it's even a tactics game. Like it is a very, very active tactics game.
So mean.
It's true though. It's true. Like you have so much like variety in each combat. And then the situation was like, okay, I'm going to be Mario and I'm going to run over here. I'm going to dash into the bomb and then use that and then throw that over here. And then going to team jump from this person over to here and then team jump over here and then go into this state. And then it's like, oh, and then I still have 2 action abilities as well. I feel like it's always like this lingering feeling of like, oh, that's right. I still have a couple of action points, even though I feel like I've been doing stuff just as one character for so long. Like there's so much that they pack into each person's turn if you play it right.
I feel like most tactics fans would say that a lot of good tactics games give you a lot of variety and options, but that is also why I love this franchise. Is it's a weird kind of unique strain of that kind of play where they give you a lot of freedom with the dash attacks, and I was skeptical going into this one when they kind of showed that they got rid of the grid basically, even though it's still kind of there. But you just have the areas that you can run around endlessly in as you're trying to set things up. But that works really well, and I don't miss having a grid at all. It eliminates all of those like weird pathing situations that you could still sometimes get into with the last one, and they just make so many very smart like kind of like making it easily accessible for people who aren't into tactics games that really work. The ability to respec any character anytime without that costing you any kind of currency, to just say, okay, I have one new skill point. I'm going to completely rework every character on my team and like go into different skills with that. That's really nice. And it also changes up the way I play, from one battle to the next.
Yeah, and especially when you add on top of that then the sparks, which are kind of the Lumas from Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah, the ones of hope, the eponymous ones of hope. And those have a wide variety of abilities. Like some are just kind of like, okay, decreasing your damage you take by 30% or something, or this one might add fire element to your attack, or this one is kind of a toxic ooze and it's kind of like an area of effect thing. And
that ooze is so OP. I put that thing on and I was like, I'm never taking this off. That's like my favorite spark to use.
I'm totally with you, but you're also leveling those up and progressing those individually as well in a very satisfying, well, it could be more satisfying. It's kind of the Super Mario Galaxy move of like feeding them star bits, but I wish they inflated like in Galaxy, but nothing's perfect. But then you can like swap those around. So you're combining the different abilities that characters naturally unlock and then swapping like these wildly different sparks around to the different characters. Like there's a lot, I think, of creativity, and I'm a tactics idiot. I would love to see somebody who's like Iron Man XCOM fan #1 jump into this game. I really want to see somebody just wring the most interesting strategies out of it, because even from my idiot brain, I think there's a lot of creative possibilities so far.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a sequel where they figured out a lot in that first game, and they have refined the different kind of scenarios that you get into. It does feel like the first world that you go through feels very easy, but I did stumble into like one fight that was way above my skill level on that first planet, and I had to try it 3 or 4 times, but it was one where they were swarming you with Goombas that were wearing pots on their head, which makes them invincible unless you dash through them, and then you can kind of pick them up and throw them off of the environment. And I played that one a couple times, and it was just such a unique, a completely new experience for a tactics game, where it was like, wait, how am I going to figure this out? And I had to like puzzle out every single like inch of like, man, I'm just out of their range. They give you really good tools for seeing like how far each enemy can go and everything. And it's just, they give you all the information that they need. They come up with really unique scenarios, and it feels completely different and it feels so much faster than a lot of tactics games that it's just, I'm super happy that this exists within that genre.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. It's like we should, this is gross to say, but here we go. I feel like we should be thankful that like the tactics genre is getting this level of production. You know, it's like, I understand. No, it's like, we should thank Ubisoft, which is a gross thing to say, but like genuinely, it's amazing that like, you know, a genre that's like, okay, a lot of great indie games, and obviously XCOM, you know, revitalized the genre to a fair extent, but it's like, this is a big budget game from Ubisoft, and, you know, it's always confusing how much Nintendo's paying for versus Ubisoft and all that stuff. But like, it's just so awesome that if you combine these family-friendly franchises like Mario and Rabbids, you can sneak in a surprisingly complex tactics game that is just above and beyond in terms of production value. I really love it.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about it is still just how easy it is to understand all the rules of it. I'm definitely still a beginner to tactics, though I've now played a couple. And whenever I sit down with a new tactics game, I feel like I have to hyper turn my brain on. I'm like, okay, you really got to read this.
That's right.
Like this time for real, you know? And I was like, okay. And I feel like I spend a lot of time intaking information, and oftentimes too, you might still be getting new like mechanics hours and hours into it. And here I feel like while there's a hint of that, and those first 2, again, I'm only in like the third world, but like the first 2 where it's like you get a spark, and then it's like, spoilers, you get 2 sparks. And I was like, also I went wild for when you got a second one. I was like, I'm slotting a second one,
jumping up and down.
I was like, this went from a 9 to a 10. No, not literally, but it was so funny because it's such a simple concept that maybe you could see coming from a mile away, but I'm just like, oh, playing with these is so fun. And now I get a second one. I totally know how to play with these already. Like, it does such a good job, I think, onboarding and tutorializing. Anyone can understand this and have fun with it. And I think if you're on a lower skill level, you can probably still, you know, mostly get by. And if you're at a higher skill level, you can spend like forever carefully like plotting everything. Like, I spend so much time, like I played 16 hours and I'm only like in that third world because I've been going through it super slowly, just thinking of, okay, well, how can I get the most of my jumps and positioning and all of these different factors? And I love that it's like so much easier to use like healing abilities in this one because it doesn't have that grid system, and you can kind of move until you do your shot. Yeah, I've been loving this, but I think in a sense, it's not the most mind-blowing thing in the industry, in that we already know that, hey, Mario plus Rabbids, great franchise, and now it's like still great, which isn't to discount what it's done. Like, I think it's still a fantastic game, minus a couple like long load times.
It is.
And I feel like it's not quite as pretty as I wanted it to be. But also shout out to Edge, the emo Final Fantasy character. Yeah,
there's a rabbit that's just the original creation that, at least in the beginning, doesn't seem like it's tied to any Nintendo character. Yes, it has a Buster Sword. And also, like, I am so on board with Edge because when I played with her at the Ubisoft event, they had some of her skill tree unlocked, and like the ability to use multiple dashes with her. Like at that preview event, they had that ability scaled up to like 3 dashes. It's like, you just get 3 free attacks that don't cost you anything to do. That is so ridiculously good. And so I'm sticking with her in a big way. I just got Bowser, and he's interesting. So that's the big debate, is like, do I keep Bowser or do I swap it back for Rabbid Peach, who is also amazing to be able to shoot from cover and also heal. It's like that's an incredible combo.
I keep Rabid Peach because of that healing.
Yeah.
Like, and then part of me is like, maybe I'm actually not that, like, I feel like I'm a god in this game. I'm like, I'm a pro gamer. I've transcended. Like, I now know years have passed and I've played a couple tactics games that are not Mario plus Rabbids. But then I'm like, am I actually that good? Because I feel like without Rabid Peach is cutting it close in a way that I don't really like. I still don't like using my healing items. So I'm like, we're just going to keep Rabid Peach forever.
Smart.
Though Peach with the Gunbrella did it first. Take that Devolver Digital.
That's right.
Is also very, very fun.
There's always the penguin. We're gonna go.
Yeah, that's true.
Honor your ancestors, man.
Yeah. Who's the first Gunbrella? Someone let us know in the comments.
Please, Jack the Ripper, I think.
Yeah, I usually play with normal Peach, and then once my characters take enough damage, I'll switch in Rabid Peach just to heal them afterwards. But at this time,
okay.
Yeah, but by this point, I have like 5,000 coins, so I could just heal. I don't know why I'm hoarding my coins.
No, keep hoarding it, Jeff. You
Yeah.
never
Do
know
I
when
need
you're
them?
going to need it. No, I don't know. You don't need them, and they're fake. This is all fake. It's not real life. But
Yeah.
Wait, I have like...
But another one of those little things that I love is that every time you do a match, you level up. Like every character gets XP, even the ones that have been on your bench the entire game. I still have not used Luigi at all, but at any point I could jump in with him and he'd be at full level with everyone else. And that's just such a smart idea. And it's kind of like, that's what you get from, kind of a family friendly tactics game. A decision where it's like, yeah, you don't have to bring these people up, and then they're going to permadeath or whatever. Like, you can put something in that makes the game way easier, but it also makes it way more fun. And I feel like it's just a fun forward game as opposed to trying to be super difficult and super thinky.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Sometimes it seems like it forces you to use those other characters. Like I did one side mission. It's like, okay, for this level, you need to have a sniper, so that's going to be Luigi, and the mission is called Brothers in Arms, where it's just Mario and Luigi there. It's like, okay, that's pretty good. And I guess Ubisoft published those at some point, so I guess that's cool. Kyle, you think you'll stick with it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the reason I even pause is because it's just like we're getting into that season.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that's going to be the thing that takes me away from it more than the content of the game. I like it. I'm not a big strategy guy, and but I've certainly found a few that I like. The one thing I did want to mention is outside of that combat, I like that a lot too. It actually kind of reminds me of the structure of like Mario and Luigi a little bit, of like just the way you kind of move around and interact with people, and then you get into these fights and they're fun. It's a good game, man. It's like the only reason I won't see it to the end is if I just get distracted by other things.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a problem for this game for sure. But I think everyone that finds it, hopefully they'll like it. People were asking in the backstage pass here if there's multiple difficulties. Yeah, there is. So up it if you need to.
They also let us know in the backstage pass that gunbrellas were patented in like the 1800s. So
is that right?
I need names.
Yeah, I'll be damned. Show
me the patent.
There is something notable with this game as well, where it's like, I think it's a really fun, creative strategy game. There is, some personality on top, and I'm not one of these rabid haters. I understand they're designed for kids and whatnot, but this game isn't obnoxiously talky, but every once in a while it teeters on that edge of like, okay, how many pumpkin spice latte jokes are we going to squeeze in here, Ubisoft, before we move on to the core game?
I was curious, and I guess I didn't really read through people's reviews, admittedly, because I'm still working on my own, but I was wondering, I'm like, I can see people being kind of annoyed by this. I like it fine, Rabid Peach has always been like, the basic girl archetype, like they had her like that forever with like the selfies and all of that, but like, which I don't know, we could unpack that.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Let's do it.
But I don't personally care, right? I'm not looking for big social commentary from this Mario plus Rabbids video game.
Thank God.
I like there's voice acting in it. I think it just adds. It's not, again, if we're going for dumb, it's nice to not have to read all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they gave a voice to like Beepo the robot and stuff, and the Rabbids talk now, but I don't know.
I like Beepo.
It's all fine. You like Beepo?
Yeah, do you not?
I like his design. No, if it was still just a voiceless robot. Here. Yeah, if he was a voiceless robot, I'd be just as enamored by Beepo.
I like his voice.
Okay. All right.
And the other one that is the not Beepo, the crystal,
one he created.
the AI crystal.
Yeah, it's confusing that they needed 2 robots in there, but sure, pack it in. But yeah, Mario plus Rabbids.
Taking on the galaxy.
There it is.
2 robots. Come on, Ben.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't give enough credit. But Sparks of Hope, everybody. Nintendo Switch exclusive. People in the Backstage Pass were also wondering, like, is it going to be coming to other platforms? I mean, the fact that Kingdom Battle didn't, no. They're not going to let Mario touch Steam, unfortunately.
No, that'd be wild, though, and would fix, again, I can't have, those load times are, like, ridiculous load times for everything. Every time you open the menu, and in a game where you're constantly managing menus, it's the first few hours was really hard for me to get acclimated to it, personally.
Yeah, it's definitely noticeable. But yeah, curious what everybody else thinks about that sucker. But hey, good job, Ubisoft. Like, you know, they get a lot of crap. We give them a lot of crap, and they deserve it in a lot of ways. But just like, I love the idea that quietly over there for 4 years, they've been working on this like really well done strategy game.
You get that pop up like, connect your Ubisoft point account. I'm like, go away. You're ruining like my time here.
All right, Kyle, let's get to the star of this freaking show, man. Pilotwings 64.
Hey, we talk about what we're passionate about here.
And we're passionate about this.
MinnMax, right?
I was struck that of all the games out right now, everybody's drowning, and you're like, this is a good time to go back to Pilotwings 64 on Nintendo Switch Online.
Well, they released it pretty recently. I don't know exactly when they released it, but it was. I like Pilotwings 64 a lot because it's very nostalgic for me. It's the one when I got the N64, like that is kind of what I played predominantly first. So those are my very first N64 memories is Pilotwings 64. And it's a very difficult game. It continues to be a difficult game. I could never beat it as a child. And just something, it's weirdly the N64 game that I've played the most on Switch, despite Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time both existing on that platform. But I did get one of the wireless N64 controllers last year. I shout out to Wario64 who shared a link, and I actually got one. And so I charged it up, and I played through and beat Pilotwings 64 for
Congratulations.
the first time in my life. Yeah, it was this weird like childhood achievement that I couldn't do on my own.
I get it.
And that game has some weird stuff. Like there's like a mode that'll pop up sometimes where one of the 8 characters in the game is just a giant robot walking around, and you have to shoot it with missiles, and it makes this like horrifying guttural scream every time you hit it. And that's like, hit that thing 3 times. That's a mission. And it's just I just really liked how kind of weird it was, and also how big like the areas are. There's one area that is just like a version of the United States, and you can even see some of like iconic buildings and stuff like that. And like if you play enough, you can actually unlock like, you know, a mode where you just have wings and you can fly around this big open version of the United States on the N64, a launch title on the N64. And it's like technically impressive, even if the character models are just absolute garbage. Just terrible. They were just like, my 11-year-old saw them and she was just like, those are horrifying. I don't know what I'm even looking at. But yeah, it was fun to revisit it because it's a really strange game, and it was really fun to actually beat it. Like I finally had the skills as an adult to beat it, and it runs surprisingly well. Like I was like, was this with the frame rate back in the day? Because it feels like a solid 60, which it might have been at the time. I just, I don't know.
Weird.
GoldenEye runs at like 5, so I'm surprised to see Pilotwings run as well.
If you had remote minds in Pilotwings, though, it also just completely crapped the bed. I feel like I need to go back to it. It's such a weird experimental time. We always look back to, Super Mario 64 for Nintendo, learning to develop games in 3D and stuff and design them. But yeah, maybe we should focus more on Pilotwings 64. Because I mean, I rented it back in the day and messed around a little bit, and I was like, okay, I don't really understand what I'm doing, but it's cool to be flying around in 3D, and that was like the extent of it. So I wonder, as an adult, like, is it a smart game, or is it just a weird experimental thing?
I think it's more on the weird experimental thing. Like it's well done. Like it controls well, and like it is cool to like use the jetpack, and there's like missions where you have to like go through a cave without hitting the walls, and it controls well and it feels good. But it's just like, it's the perfect like N64 game to be on Switch, because it's like, it's just fun to go back and see what that like literally first week of the Nintendo 64 looked like. And then it's just also has like, you can, if you like dig deep enough, you can find some weird stuff in that game that I really liked. So it was like, it weirdly got its hooks into me all these years later.
I had a very similar experience like 2 months ago because I did the exact same thing with the Super Nintendo Pilotwings. I went back and beat it for the first time too, which I could never do as a kid.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because the Super Nintendo Pilotwings, I don't know if any of you remember, but you play through you play through all of the different, plane and jetpack and everything, and then at the end it just becomes a helicopter mission because like your instructor got like abducted by some military, and then it becomes a top-down shooter that is impossible because you're trying to fly a helicopter and it's just bullets everywhere. So I had to make copious use of like the rewind function on that.
Yeah.
But I finally beat it. I could never do it as a kid.
Wow.
So we both beat these like childhood Pilotwing games.
These old Pilotwings games. Yes.
You know what?
Funny.
I forgot. Last week, I went back and I played Pilotwings Resort on the 3DS because I never finished it. And I actually went all the way through it, and it was great.
Yeah, there you go. What about you, Janet? Which Pilotwings game did you?
Yeah, claim a fourth. We dare you.
So many options run through my head right now.
You don't have to pick. We couldn't
tweets
possibly.
of like, I wish they'd made a sequel to Pilotwings 64. My response was like, Pilotwings Resort, man. Come
Go
on.
to Woohoo Island. It's sitting there for you. Hey, speaking of Woohoo, Kyle, you had news this week that shocked the world, confused the world. Then the world applauded you. Do you want to reveal your news here?
This week? What's a leading question?
I think you're referring to the fact that I decided to rejoin Game Informer magazine.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not talking about other 64 games you went back to play. Yeah.
Or maybe it was just leaving GameSpot. Maybe that's the news that you're talking about.
I think everything is shocking. When you first told me about this, I was shocked, and also it's a weird feeling, kind of tickled by it. Like, sure, yep, let's just keep this loop going with the Game Informer, our sister outlet at this point. Sure, let's just make it a grayer line between us. Why not?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it is weird. It's a weird thing. I didn't expect to go back, but like I had great discussions with Reiner right before he left and Matt Miller, editor-in-chief now. And I'm excited to be back. I mean, it's a weird thing to go into the back end of that website and be like, oh, I remember how all this works. Okay, I remember how all this works.
I know it's all over.
Haven't updated it?
Oh.
They did a massive update right before, we all were not there anymore.
Margaret over there and the rest of the team really pulled through and designed a much better website. So yeah, it's got to be nice to go back to it. What's been the most surreal thing about going back to Game Informer, Kyle?
I mean, honestly, posting a story on the site, which I finally did my first one today. Like, that was strange. It really just came back to me instantly. I also went back. I had a story on the site that was like my top 10s through the years that I had been tracking.
Right.
First thing I did when I went and had access was go and update that story to add all my top 10s for the years that I had missed. And
traffic exploded. Yeah, I guess why did you go back? I think is the question.
Well, it's a good title. It's like a promotion from my previous job at GameSpot, which to be clear, I had a great time at GameSpot. I really enjoyed it there, and I actually did not know about the fandom transition when I was making my decisions to change over. Like, I leave on good terms. I really had a great time at GameSpot, but the big thing was this opportunity came along that I felt like was worth pursuing and was exciting. So I decided to go for it.
Go for that title, yeah. And just to be clear, what does this mean for you on MinnMax stuff?
I will still be involved in MinnMax basically as much as my schedule allows.
I mean, same amount that you've been doing in the past, I'd imagine?
That's my plan, yeah. I mean, we've talked about this. Like, I want to try to still be on the show every week. You were
going to call it the Game Informer show, weren't you?
I know, I was almost.
You monster! You're already polluted and corrupted by those monsters over there.
Gosh. But that's my hope. Obviously, there's going to be there'll be instances where I'm busy or have stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, the plan right now is to basically maintain a consistency of like how much I've been involved here going forward.
Yeah, right on. and Jeff took your old job at GameSpot, and I am now an executive at GameStop. Just so everybody's clear on where we're all standing.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Great. That works out perfectly. I'm so glad you're there, Hanson.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, Kyle, can I talk to you real quick about this game that I think you're the only person on Earth that'll care about?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Hey, can I talk to you about Dragon Ball: The Breakers a little bit?
Oh yes, of course. Right.
By that I mean Dragon Ball: The Breakers. Everybody, truly the worst name for a game maybe released this year.
That's not true.
It's not attractive as a name. I'll give it that. What
about
first
that
half
so
of
and
it,
so summer vacation thing?
Various Day Life.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'll take
at least.
Yeah. Anyways, Dragon Ball: The Breakers. This is the 7v1 Dragon Ball game. It's Dragon Ball Dead by Daylight, where you're 7 humans running around this world trying to hide from Frieza or Cell or Boo, and trying to activate a time machine or to transform in one of the Z fighters and fight them. It's one of those games, Kyle, and absolutely fair to critique me because I got this game for free. Bandai Namco sent a code over, which is very nice. But it feels like one of those games where, like, I don't even want to look at reviews for this. I know it's going to be a janky, weird thing, and I am fully on board for this weird experience of jumping in. And it gave me what I wanted, which is like actually being in an environment, being in West City, Kyle, and you're just some random schmuck, and like crawling around through caves and like hiding under a tree as imperfect Cell like flies over your head, and you're actually scared of Cell for the first time in a video game. It's not just like some fighting game or some, brawler or something. It's like, okay, I'll beat him up, whatever. Like, to actually feel scared, like, oh crap, if Frieza finds me, I will die and I will be out this round. Like, to have some of those Battle Royale-esque emotions in a Dragon Ball world. Look, it's not a good game, but I like it, man. I really enjoyed my time with this.
It's funny. I don't think I realized it until you said it. Like, I don't even want to look at reviews. I just love Dragon Ball, kind of. I paid for it with my own money, and like, it's a rare thing that I do where, like, I didn't research at all. I was like, this game's $20.
Yep.
I'm buying this thing.
Yeah, it's $20. And it feels like one of those games that they could flip a switch and turn into a free-to-play game at some point. Like, there's a battle pass in it and stuff, and there's a lot of people, the Steam reviews.
There's microtransactions in there.
There's microtransactions, and so people are upset about, the rate that the stuff unlocks for the battle pass and all that stuff. But like, I don't really care about all that nonsense. I don't really care about the cosmetics in a big way. I'm not going to spend more than 20 hours with this game this year, but like, I played it with
a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, I'm just like, I booted up with my friends Grant and Ronnie, and we laughed a couple times and had a decent time with this. So yeah, it feels like it's in the same camp as another game, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, where it's like both these games, they just, at this point, a game like this got to be on Game Pass. Any sort of asymmetrical multiplayer game. What are you going to convince, like, for Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, which is...
Well, to be clear, I did just say I bought the game, like, sight unseen because of the license.
No, you did. I know, but also, like...
That's you, Kyle.
You're not playing...
You would have too, Ben. You would have too.
I don't know if I would have if I didn't have friends that were willing to play.
I'll be honest. I don't think we can speak for the people in a lot of ways.
For the Dragon Ball fans of the world.
Well,
yeah, but maybe for, like, the people listening, which is good enough, right? Like, that's all that really matters.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I agree with you about the Game Pass thing for sure, but the thing that raises it is the license, Ghostbusters, Dragon Ball,
Yeah, but I think just for more, Kyle, we talked about it last week, right? You're not into the multiplayer experiences in a big way, but that is certainly the hook of these games. You can play them by yourself, but you're going to diminish your fun in a huge way, right? And so even for Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, like, if you're a big Ghostbusters fan, it's like, hey, there's this new 4v1 Ghostbusters game that's supposed to be pretty good. What are you going to convince 4 of your friends to go out and buy this and then all coordinate at the same time? I just feel like it's a tough sell. And that's why I think both these games are just ripe for Game Pass. I think for any large player count game.
If you will.
That's right.
Yeah. It was a tough sell when Evolve did it like 10 years ago.
Yep.
And everyone's copying that format now.
Yeah. So anyways, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. Let's zoom out a little bit. So this is a new game from Ilphonic, who are the developers of that Friday the 13th game before they lost the license and had to stop developing it in a weird way. And then also Predator Hunting Grounds, which came out a couple years ago, and we all said, oh, that's better than I thought. We played that, right? Jeff, Kyle, I think you were probably there, right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so this is 4v1 Ghostbusters game. Very, very early impressions. Brian Vore, I played with a little bit. And so, I played for probably like an hour or something like that. And it's like, oh, this is about what you'd want if you wanted an asymmetrical Ghostbusters game. First person, go around, trap the ghost. One player's the ghost. You fight against them. It's like everything feels good. But I kind of had this experience after like just, that little bit that I played of this is what you'd want if you made one of those Ghostbusters games, but it's just not really that exciting anymore. As somebody who likes Ghostbusters, I'm not Ghostbusters fanatic. I think I can speak for a large swath of this world that likes Ghostbusters just fine and has some passion for it. But still, it's like, all right, they technically did this. I don't know who this is really for unless you're gaga for Ghostbusters. Has anybody else seen this or tried it at all? Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed?
Not yet. Haven't had time.
Okay. Yeah, it's there's a lot going on right now. So.
Also, like, Greg did voice acting in that game.
That's
so
right.
There's my caveat anyway. So
that's right. But
I do plan on playing it just to hang out. Like, my boyfriend wants to try it out.
Yeah. Kind of funny is Greg Miller. Yeah, they were paid to stream it, and also he's a voice actor in it, but he did give it a 4 out of 5, I saw on the Gamescast. So no, but he was very clear for all those disclaimers. That, like, all that is very clear, but I would give it a 4 out of 5, which for a fan like him, even though he's in it, like that makes sense, right? Like if you've always wanted that experience of busting ghosts, here you go. This seems like a solid one if you want to do it.
I'm excited for this to be the first time I engage with anything that's Ghostbusters because I've never seen Ghostbusters.
Oh, really? Don't do that.
So I think it's going to be really funny to play it with like no context. I'll let y'all know what I do, what I think.
Oh God, that's going to be bizarre. Kyle, you saw Ghostbusters Afterlife, right?
Yes.
The best thing.
I think.
Okay. The best
Which is
thing
my review.
The best thing that this game does so far in the early stages, but walking around the firehouse is very cool. Like that's
cool.
a real thrill. And also it turns out that Dan Aykroyd's bookstore, it turns out that's right next door. Kyle, just in case you're curious about it. It turns out it was right next door to the firehouse the entire time.
I gotta go watch
confusing.
Ghostbusters too. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, it's a little odd, but I guess gameplay wise they gotta do it. But anyways, the funniest thing is in the intro for this game, they try to explain the confusing line in Ghostbusters Afterlife, and this is very geeky, so please forgive me. But in Ghostbusters Afterlife, Dan Aykroyd's character is like, yeah, the old fire hall where we used to be Ghostbusters, they turned it into a Starbucks. And then, like, spoilers for the post-credits scene for Ghostbusters Afterlife, they show Winston going to it and, like, opening it back up, like, Ghostbusters are back in business. And it's not a Starbucks? So it's like, did they just film that after the fact, but they didn't want to change that line earlier on in the film? And so in this, they actually have Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson in there, and Dan Aykroyd has a line where he's like, yeah, it was a high-end coffee shop for a little bit, then they turned it back to the old fire station.
I feel like that's implied by that. I mean, I'm going based off you describing a scene to a thing I've never seen.
Yeah, Janet, that's a big leap. That's a big leap.
Put some asterisks on there, but it sounds like what that is.
No,
like, I don't know, they went back and changed it again.
No, it was confusing.
I feel like it's pretty clear.
It passed or anything like that. It's weird.
It was very confusing for Ghostbusters fans in that film, exactly what the Starbucks
was that
timeline
the big gripe people had? That was
number one complaint.
Point?
Absolutely number one complaint. All right, Kyle, thank you for being here. Anything else you want to say before you clap the hell out of here?
No. Bye.
All right, bye, Kyle. Leo Vader coming into play. Yeah, thanks for getting Kyle out of here, man. That was uncomfortable.
Oh, sorry I couldn't come sooner.
I know. I get how you feel. Welcome, Leo. You can talk about anything under the sun right now. That really, the world's your oyster. But
Let's talk politics.
Let's do it. Give us that ballot sample. Hey, speaking of controversy, like politics, this Overwatch 2 game.
Whoa.
Did it. Kyle 2.
Wow. Oh my God.
Is this going well? Leo, what have you done to this show, man?
I brought politics into it.
I told you not to
put the cap back on.
Leo, do you want to talk about Overwatch 2?
Sure.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for dabbling with this thing. I feel bad that I haven't really dove in to check it out.
I feel bad that I have dove in to check it out.
Really? What was your experience like?
We got all our bases covered.
I really do enjoy playing it. It is fun.
Oh, okay.
It's...
But there's a gun to your head.
It's obvious it is tuned to be really satisfying to win at and for you to chase that.
Right.
you know? And obviously the store is terrible. Everything's overpriced. Probably shouldn't even mention this game without addressing that, but I'm not super interested in talking about that. My issue with that game is like, it's super fun to win because all the dopamine clickers are popping off. You're getting the sound effects. You're getting the lights flashing and stuff. It feels good to roll a team, but it's like, I just don't think it's that good of a actual multiplayer game. I feel like a really good multiplayer game like Siege or a lot of battle royales, it's like you can have fun when you're losing.
Yeah.
By doing clever things or getting like, oh, at least I got that one guy, or like I can try this new thing and I can at least learn something from losing. But I feel like that component just isn't there in Overwatch. It's just like focused on having these same fights and these same choke points on these really linear maps. And it's fun when you're winning and that's what you're chasing all the time. But if you're losing, like you can have fun if you're goofing off with your friends and talking about something else, but like that will have nothing to do with the game.
I mean, it sounds like you could just be reviewing Overwatch 1. Is it same emotions you have with Overwatch 1? Or these updates even exacerbated it?
I think it is a little better, probably. The 5 players versus 6, the fights don't last as long, and there's maybe a little more you can do by yourself, especially in like mystery heroes or the goofier modes. I think overall it is probably more fun that way, but it really has gotten me thinking about it of like, is this a multiplayer or is this like a specific type of fight that they tested and knew was fun and want to get you in as much as possible?
That's weird. Does anybody have a sense of like where the overall community is at? Obviously a lot of launch struggles and stuff, but is it picking up steam? Are people picking it up with the free-to-play nature of this and warming up to it at this point? Or
the headlines I saw have been like, there's 30 million people playing it, but every opinion piece I've seen is like, oh, they killed Bastion and now he's terrible, or I'm trying to have fun with the game, but it won't let me, or those opinions of those nature.
Yeah. Charles Davis wrote in over on Patreon, and they say, Blizzard have said that they're aiming for Overwatch 2 to be a regularly updated live game that will rival giants like Destiny. Did they really say that? The PvP element is still the best out there in my opinion, but a little tired overall. What do you think the PvE content that's coming up needs to do to meet their actual design goals for this thing?
I mean, their ambitions are lofty. They're talking about it being as forever as Overwatch, right? In terms of how much time you can put into it.
Yeah.
It has to be more than a horde mode. And actually give people who aren't interested in the PvP a reason to come and play it. And I mean, that's my answer because that's the camp I'm in. But I just, for the exact reason that Leo is mentioning, although I never really thought of it that way, but that is absolutely my problem with the PvP in that game, is that if you're not on a good team, you're not having fun, or at least I'm not. And so PvE sounds much more interesting to me and much more enticing. But if it is just stand in this spot and shoot 100 robots as they come in, and that's kind of as far of like the creative space that we figured out for it, then that's not doing it for me either. Like there's got to be something more to it than that.
Yeah, I mean they're talking a big game. I think they definitely have. They got a lot of wiggle room. They really need to impress us after the launch of Overwatch 2. And again, I haven't played it yet, but just loving that first game and everything I've seen of Overwatch 2, it's like I feel like I'd just be going back to that first game. So I don't see any bold reinvention here, and maybe they're saving all that for PvE.
But I played PvE like 3 years ago. Was it 3 years ago for the Game Informer Blizzard cover story?
Yeah.
I was kind of apprehensive about it because the PvE events in Overwatch 1, they always sound so fun and then they get boring really quickly. And I think that was just because the enemies were really bland. And I think that is a problem they absolutely had fixed when I played it. Like the way you're interacting with enemies is so much better. Breaking certain parts of them and like taking them out more strategically, having that matter a little bit more. But who can say, because it was 3 years ago now and it still hasn't come out. I barely remember.
Completely different. I mean, do you think you'll keep playing this, Leo? Or was it a little experiment with friends and then wrapping up?
If my friends are still playing it, I'll still play it. It's the type of thing where if we can get a 5-stack going, we will have a good time. And we do usually win because if we play unranked modes and we're a 5-stack and we don't go up against a lot of 5 stacks. But
it's
that is the fun, because we're having fun goofing off, talking about other things when we're losing. But if I were just playing by myself, like, I don't know what would keep me playing.
It has obviously different, but it has like weird shades of like the Horizon Forbidden West review discussion. You know what I mean, Janet? Where it's like everything sounds kind of defeated and negative about when people talk about this game, but it's like, well, no, I mean, it's a really well-made game and it's good and I have fun playing it, but was
that Forbidden West? I feel like that was not what people said about that game.
Right,
I think if anything, it's the more apt comparison would probably be Splatoon 3, things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
FIFA every year. I have this conversation every single year.
I mean,
and it's great every time.
Yeah, we talked about it, but I feel like Splatoon 3 is getting a warmer reception out there. I don't know too many people that are burned by being too close.
I think so, but that's because the bar is on the floor. And even though sometimes they still limbo a little bit under it, we're like, we can play with our friends now. Like, that's where Nintendo multiplayer is. So I feel like the fact that is something that we're excited, 3 games into the franchise, and we're like, this is for the first time ever, I can play with the 3 people in my living room.
It actually functions.
You know?
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Overwatch.
By the way, I changed my mind. I do want to say one thing about the store in Overwatch 2.
Please.
Sure.
If you grind all your weeklies for 10 months, you get enough currency to purchase 1 legendary skins.
All right.
10 months.
That's pretty brutal.
And they look cool?
Oh, and they're epic.
All right. Hell yeah. That's what we like to hear.
That's what it's all about.
Hey, Jeff, what are we all about, man? Tell me, dude.
What?
Just tell me, like, how this whole thing operates and what we're all
tell me.
about.
Also,
Well,
made fun
you
of me
didn't say
sneezing
the
then.
line. That's the line you're supposed to say, and then I'm supposed to come up
forbid me
with
for not
something
sticking
like
to this
Overwatch
strict
2
script.
legendary skins, right? Is that?
Yeah, and then I say, no, Jeff, it's patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Follow that link. There's a link in the description for you. Check out the benefit that's right for you. Help support us. We'd appreciate it. We're coming up on our 3rd anniversary, everybody. We hit 3 years. Very exciting times. That's all thanks to Patreon supporters. So thank you all for being there and unlocking those benefits and saying hi in the Discord, finding that nice community, helping to build that nice community. We appreciate it. And thank you to some fine folks that are helping us as well, like Leader Games. They want everybody to know about Ahoy. They're the creators of Root, which is a beloved asymmetrical, kind of the theme of the episode, tabletop experience. And Ahoy is an asymmetrical tabletop game for 2 to 4 players that's all about controlling the seas, but then also the 3rd and 4th player are smugglers and they're running items back and forth in the territory that the other players are controlling, therefore affecting the value of the territories that the first 2 players are controlling. Leo's nodding because he knows that this is a good pitch for a game. It works out. Cool. It is cool. The game is called Ahoy. It is much more accessible than Root. You can check that out. It's coming out soon from Leader Games. And we've been giving away copies throughout the entire month. And so this week, you can win a free copy of Ahoy, if you're in the US only, I'm sorry, by following MinnMax on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram at MinnMax Show. Not only do we have a daily video telling you exactly what's going on behind the scenes at MinnMax, where you can hold us accountable for the Patreon support, make sure we're working hard for you. But then also we have a bunch of behind the scenes pictures and stuff like that. But then there will be an Ahoy specific post on there with instructions on how to get in the running to win a copy of Ahoy. And thank you to our friends who are back in town, everybody. You know who I'm talking about. Fixture.
The friends are back in town.
That's right. Fixture Gaming, everybody. They want you to know about the Fixture S1. Jeffem, do you remember this little ditty?
I do.
The Fixture S1, everybody. It is a clip that you put onto your Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and then you can slide the screen onto it so you can play with the greatest Switch controller on the go. Just get rid of that Joy-Con drift. You don't need any of that. Play with the good controller, everybody. And it's very convenient. It's adjustable, so you can slide things around to make it comfortable and ergonomically beautiful, dare I say. The Fixture S1, you can check that out. Also, you can get the sleek carrying case for the Fixture S1. You can find links below. Check them out at fixturegaming.com, or they're also available on Amazon. But if you like playing the Switch on the go, but you're looking for a more convenient and comfortable way to do it, you can check out the Fixture S1. Now, Janet, I know what you're saying right now. That's right. You're saying, well, what about my Switch OLED? How are they going to support that? Is it a different thing?
You know me so well.
That's right.
That's exactly what I'm saying, even though I don't own one.
Well, hey, I know you're asking to have folks looking out for that. The Fixture S2, everybody. This is a mount that fits with your Nintendo Switch OLED model. They have done it. They have an early edition out now, but the Fixture S2 will be launching, and they're releasing the date for that soon. But they want everybody to know that there is a special promo code, everybody. If you go to fixturegaming.com and use the promo code MinnMax, 2 N's of course, you get $5 off of your order, and you will receive the custom MinnMax Show skin for the Fixture S1. They made these, which is very cool, but you have to get it before October 24th. So if you want the custom MinnMax skin, you can use the promo code MinnMax, get $5 off the Fixture S1. So follow that link below, check it out, help support them because they're supporting us in a big bad way, and it's nice to have them back. Also, speaking of nice to have them back, we have I Am 8-Bit. They're still here, everybody. They want everybody to know about their new throwback experience game, not experience, it's a game, everybody, for the NES called Garbage Pail Kids Mad Mike and the Quest for Stale Gum. This is a new game that they are creating, publishing specifically, and you can play it on your original NES. It is an I Am 8-Bit exclusive cartridge, and it looks awesome. So they're making it as if it is a long-lost Garbage Pail Kids game because they do cool stuff like this. So you can check that out at I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store, and if you go to that store, you can use the promo code this month, Cereal Monsters. Cereal Monsters for 10% off everything under $100. There's no space in Cereal Monsters. Jump in there, check it out, and help support them by checking out I Am 8-Bit's official wonderful online store because they support our community in a big bad way. Yes, Jeffem?
Hanson, is that cereal like the food or cereal like a serial murderer?
It's cereal, as in Cereal Vasquez. No, cereal as in the food. Cereal Monsters, everybody, is the promo code for 10% off. But they are shipping out the Battletoads vinyl soundtrack to a member of the MinnMax community, specifically a Patreon supporter who also submitted a question for this podcast. Each and every week, you can submit a question for this podcast over on Patreon if you're a supporter, even at that $2 tier, and then I Am 8-Bit ships out something wonderful to you. So, whoever has the best question will win this Battletoads vinyl. Is that clear, Leo?
Yes, sir.
That's right. Now let's absorb these questions and give them what they want, which is a little fun and a little info. That's the secret to a good podcast. Matthew Porter writes in and says, hey, MinnMax crew, if you could quote unquote shuffle any game, what would you choose? By the way, shuffling a game means erasing any released game to see what else could have been created by that team and studio given the same budget, development timeline, release date, etc. You don't have any say in what might be created in the old game's place.
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights. So, okay, so is this just like...
It's not here yet.
Is it just a chaos theory idea? If you can't give them any indication of what you want, you just want to like hit the reboot thing and just see if the chips fall?
For the game.
Just see if it would maybe nudge in a different way somehow.
I just feel like the answer is definitely going to be something branded, something superhero-y probably.
I know. Like for me, the easy thing I thought of first is like, oh, the Avengers game, if it wasn't a living game. But I don't know how many times you have to like shuffle that game before.
But it might not, in my mind, that might not even be an Avengers game. It's just budget and time, and they just make a totally different game.
Yeah.
That's how I heard the question.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, do you have one in mind then, Janet?
I guess for that, it'd have to just be a game I did not think was very good. So the first thing I thought of was The Medium, or that because I just named those games. Yeah, I'm trying to, Recore is another popular one, but I wouldn't want them to re-roll that. I just want them to redo it. I liked all the ideas.
Yeah, and even
maybe they could re-roll for it though, and I would save myself a lot of pain from the years prior. So that could be a thing.
I started up Recore within the last year. I was like, you know what? I'm going to show off what this Xbox Series X can do.
To go back or as a first?
Yeah, it was my first time playing it. Yeah, I always wanted to. It's one of those games like, I think this one can be redeemed. I think there might be enough good ideas in there. And it's like, I had a fine time for the hour that I went back and played it, but I didn't keep going with it for my full redemption story on Recore, but it seemed cool. Inafune was involved for Mega Man fame,
There's a lot of cool ideas in that game that just do not come together.
Yeah.
The final boss bugged out for me also. There's a lot there.
And now that studio's owned by Facebook, so all hail Mark Zuckerberg. Jeff,
Who rolls for that one?
what would you shuffle up, Jeff?
I also misunderstood the question, the first one.
Well, it's open to interpretation.
I understood the way Janet said once you read the whole thing out loud this time. So maybe the new Saints Row.
Just see what else Volition could make.
Good answer.
Yeah. Or even go back in time and do Agents of Mayhem. Just try something else, just no matter what it is.
No, reroll Saints Row and have it be Agents of Mayhem too.
The way it should have been, Volition.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew Porter says, for me, I would shuffle Death Stranding. I don't think it's a bad game by any means, but it just didn't click with me. And I'd throw it in the randomizer to see what else Kojima might have created. Well, yeah, now you're getting that new game with Elle Fanning. It's a weird thing.
Jared Meyer in the comments just said Mass Effect Andromeda 2.
Just see what else BioWare Montreal could have made. Yeah. Oozing Neon says, hey, MinnMax-aroonies. Every Halloween, I like to schedule out a month worth of spooky movies to watch, usually trying to tackle franchises I haven't experienced before. This year, I watched all of Paranormal Activity and a large chunk of Dario Argento's Italian horror movies. Do y'all like scheduling out your fun media consumption like this? Am I nuts for doing this? No, Oozing Neon.
You're like one of the crazy people who do all the killings in your movies.
You need to be stopped.
When you said that, it's the delivery that did it. No, I think it's cool. Like I've always wanted to do something like that. It's just for me, I have a unofficial rule that I can't have too many things just scheduled. I just feel like it makes life very stiff.
Oh, now you're an anti-calendar. I see how it is, Janet.
Well, it's because I use the calendar. Now, you have no excuse. You should be scheduling out every second of everything outside of
I've been
9
scheduling.
to 5.
I've been scheduling.
Hanson, what movie do I watch this weekend? Can you put it on the calendar?
Yeah, Beetlejuice. Just put it down.
I just saw that for the first time a few days ago.
Are you serious? How'd it go?
Yes, I am serious.
What'd you think?
Go
easy.
Interesting. Why do you feel the need to say that? Is it because you know that it can't stand on its own? Because your caveat is more damning than anything I was going to say.
It's just I love Beetlejuice so much, and I went back and watched it within the last couple of years, and it was like, man, I forgot. First of all, how little Beetlejuice is in it. And also,
that's what everyone says.
Yep. And then number 2 is like, I forgot about all the pervy creep town stuff.
The sex passive. So that was my big things were, I didn't even realize it was a movie. I thought it was a musical.
Oh my
so I was like,
God.
Oh, this isn't a musical? Great, because I don't like musicals. So this works out for me.
They were rapping the whole time.
Yeah. No, okay. So I was sitting there and I'm like, when are they going to start singing? And then they kind of do. So then it's like, but then they don't for the rest of it. I had no idea what it was about. I only knew that he wears a suit that's striped and that there's a worm. That's all I knew about this movie.
That's what the pitch was.
But yeah, the sex pest perv stuff was very shocking. I'm like, oh my God, this is a PG movie?
Yeah.
That's wild. I think it's an intriguing take on the afterlife. And it's fun to see like what special effects look like in that era. But I wouldn't say it's like a good movie.
Okay.
But it's like Halloween time. So it's like, we're here. I'm here for the festivities. Is Pet Sematary good? I don't know. I'm not a film critic. I liked watching it because I have a cat. Like,
help me out. I mean, that's fair. I am normally in the camp of let the past die. Stuff that we liked in our childhood might actually be bad. Normally that's the track I take, but Beetlejuice is a good movie, right? We could still, I understand you might, maybe didn't float your boat. What's that, Leo?
But maybe if you like it, it's different.
Right. I think that's where I'm going. I mean, I'm willing to admit that like Ghostbusters, I could see how somebody watching that for the first time now might be like, that's fine. But like Beetlejuice is cool. It's still fun. It's still funny. Okay, maybe not.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's worth checking out. It's weird.
Yes.
Well, again, I don't care. Like, it's just a movie. Like, I don't have the.
You don't care.
Yeah,
your job is to care about these types of things.
You're not changing your entire life because you watch Beetlejuice?
Come on.
Not about movies, y'all. You want to see me have the opinion? This is it. Right here. But for Beetlejuice, I don't know. I don't think it was good, but like, who cares? Like,
I care deeply. I mean, on that.
You clearly. I didn't know. Like, you're like my cousin's Beetlejuice, and I'll have you know. No, did you write on this movie, Ben?
It feels like I did, but
he was 30 when it was made.
That's right. No, I recently watched the Addams Family movie from 1991 because there was like we have been watching a lot of movies on our projector outside, and there's like one last warm day in Minnesota. She's like, okay, let's have an encore. Let's have everybody over and we'll watch Addams Family. And that's one that I'd only seen bits and pieces of. So that's an example of a 1991 old movie that I went and watched for the first time. I was like, I think that movie's great. I really loved it. I mean, it's just so much of just beating the same drum of this family is dark. Isn't it shocking how dark they are? But in a comedic way, I'll never get sick of that joke. Always funny. So that's like the most I think I've really done for mapping out horror stuff this week, outside of MinnMax content, I guess.
So what's Leo watching then? Beetlejuice, right?
God, I hope so.
I watched Rush Hour recently. I enjoyed that.
Hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Holds up. I will say to this question, I think it's a great idea to schedule this stuff out because it's like important to make time for horror movies in October because it's kind of objectively the best time to watch them.
Right.
It really is a perfect vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, and how
Especially
often...
if you can see jack-o'-lanterns in the lawn across the street from your window like I can.
That's right.
It's the only time that the stuff can really happen.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
The barriers between our worlds are very thin in October.
Yep.
I'll never look at my cat the same. I don't know about y'all.
How's your jack-o'-lantern, Jeff? If you missed it for New Show Plus, Jeff and I had a pumpkin carving competition.
It rotted so fast. It's out on the step now, and it has been melting. I don't understand what.
Is it hot?
What happened?
Where you guys are?
It's not even. No. Really. We had one day that got up to like 80 degrees, which I think was the day that we carved them.
Yeah.
But it's, and I think a squirrel chewed into it too. So I don't. As soon as I put it outside, it was already. We looked at it. It was on the kitchen table for like 3 days, and then both my wife and I looked at it randomly, and it was just like there was mold like growing all across its mouth and face, which made it spookier. But then it was also like, okay, get it the hell out of the house.
Victor Pham writes in and they say, hey, is the internet... Sorry, Janet, did I move on too quickly?
No, I'm just
that was a
like...
perfect segue.
Just continue.
Okay, thank you.
Don't mind me.
Victor writes in, is the internet too quick to jump to conclusions? No, they seem pretty reasonable.
No, yeah, they're...
Not. Absolutely not.
Okay, so is the internet too quick to jump to conclusions? When Helena Taylor came forward with a video about why she was no longer playing the role of Bayonetta, the internet mob was ready to tear Nintendo and Platinum to shreds. But then with new information from Bloomberg, we now know that she was not telling the whole story about what she was offered, and the initial outrage now seems justified. Okay, this is a weird saga. Remember last week on this podcast, we were talking about Bayonetta 3 with Jacob Geller? And I was like, oh, are people up in arms about the voice actor stuff? And he's like, no, I think it's fine. And then like right after that episode dropped, the internet exploded because the original voice actress for Bayonetta 1 and 2, she went on Twitter and she said, hey, they offered me $4,000 to voice this entire game. F them, boycott Bayonetta 3. And then everyone picked it up and ran with it in huge ways. And my reaction was a reaction I saw a couple other people have as well of just like, wait, so they got Jennifer Hale, one of the greatest voice actors of all time, to replace it? Like, is the implication she did it for under $4,000? That doesn't check out. So, Janet, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm picking up the pieces. And then it seems like Bloomberg and other folks have reported that they have seen the actual paperwork, and it turns out that she was offered $4,000 per session, and then there were multiple sessions totaling something
5 sessions.
Okay. And then Kamiya, the creator of Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, he got on Twitter and said that the actor was not telling the truth, and then his Twitter account disappeared.
Right? That was a subtweet, technically. And then he deleted his account right after.
Yeah, it's...
Question mark. And then that's when the Bloomberg thing. So you had it...
Yeah, you're right. Should we care about this? It's like, you saw the first things like, hey, people should get paid for their work. Seems like that's too low. But for this to be like the main story on Twitter for so many days... Is it fair to be exhausted by this? I'm just like, I don't, just pay the people. Let's move on.
Depends on how much you read. It sounds like you've maybe gone into the rabbit hole.
I mean, I guess I just saw Twitter and stuff bump up, but I don't know. Do you have thoughts on this, Janet?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I think to the original question, obviously, like, are people quick to jump to conclusions? Generally, I would say yes. I think in this case, I'd rather live in a world where we briefly believe someone who is likely to be lying than to just not believe workers when they have complaints against big corporations.
For sure.
I think it just I think the shocking thing about this is that she would, even if it's just like slightly bending the truth of that she would be any degree of dishonest with an accusation like this. And, of course, there's a larger conversation of, is that real rate even, is that going on? Probably not, right? Like, I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I'd rather side with workers and occasionally get burned than decide not to believe workers until there's complete proof. That being said, it sucks that she didn't tell the whole story because it's not a good look. And I think it does hurt what the conversation could have been about. Yeah. And then as far as boycotting, I mean, it's up to you if you want to do that. I think that's totally fair and fine. And obviously we should try to support workers. And of course, there's like many layers to this, like Jennifer Hale posting about, hey, I can't really comment on it, but also a lot of people worked on this game. Hey, me, I'm one of the people, right? That's kind of the between the lines. So there's not a clear right or wrong on your action as a consumer, in my opinion. But I think this unfortunate circumstance should not take away from those larger conversations of wanting to support workers and get that pay there. Yeah. But yeah, and I'm glad that I guess the truth came out. So like, shout out to the reporters for doing, you know, people always talk about game journalism, games media. Obviously we're all more in the criticism content creation side, but like that's important stuff to like really dig into these larger stories that have big real world implications that cut across fields. So, you know, it's important to have these conversations, even if it's a lot of, oh, it's this and then this person and this other thing. Like it's messy, I guess, you know. It's
very messy, yeah. Ryan writes in and they said, maybe sparked because Janet said this as well. How do you feel about the term content? Do you describe your work and creative work in general with content? I hear it all the time now. Most shockingly, in a behind the scenes video for God of War Ragnarok, they use the word content to describe the story. Personally, I can't stand the term. It makes it seem like everything is just being churned out of a factory with no emotion or care put into it. Is it demeaning to y'all to have your efforts described that way? And then Ryan McGinnis replied to that comment on Patreon, and he said, as Leo Vader once said on MinnMax, quote, I see a sunset and think, how can this be content? I don't remember that, but good joke, Leo.
I have so many answers for you, Leo.
At times, I just don't know of a better word. So I definitely use content when talking about MinnMax. It's like I could say videos and podcasts, but it's an easy catch-all, but it does make me feel gross at times. Is where I'm at with content these days. I'm not content with it. What about y'all?
I just say I'm a YouTuber. I never use the word content.
Do you
in that context
purposely avoid it?
Not purposely. I mean, okay. I guess I do probably because I don't like it, but I haven't really thought about it until this question.
Okay.
Never considered saying it.
Yeah. All right.
I think I only use it negatively.
Yeah. You see, like you wake up and you say, oh, Hanson wants me to do content today, that type of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
That's.
I'm fine
looks
with
like my baby made some more content.
Yeah.
I was actually ranting about this to my brother, like just in my house yesterday. So when it was here, I was like, did someone bug my apartment?
Oh.
Yeah, obviously you're welcome to call what you make whatever you want to call it.
Art,
but I don't think
Janet,
there's anything wrong with
art.
Like, sure, if you want to, but I think it's silly to say that like you calling art content is debasing the art, or calling content art is debasing art. Like, it's silly. Like, it's all stuff. You consume it, so it's inherently content. If you don't want to describe your work that way, that's fair and fine. But I think it becomes like I think we're unnecessarily putting up walls between, oh, I'm different than the person dancing on TikTok because I talk about it. Like, you know, I think it does unfortunately go down that slippery slope of I'm quote unquote above content and content creators and what you think of when you have that word. And I don't agree with that. I think anything that you put out, fine, call it art, call it content, call it whatever you want. But I don't think any of them is inherently more elevated. And I think putting art on an elevated platform above content is inherently backwards to, I think, respecting all the different ways people create things in the world. So
yeah, totally. Here. That was good content, Janet. AJ Nathan Andrew.
That's all I know how to make, baby. Let's go.
AJ Nathan Andrews Bowers writes in and says, now that Kind of Funny's spare bedroom, the new studio, has been revealed in San Francisco, when is MinnMax going to invest in a crazy setup like that? AJ, boy, do I have the podcast for you. It's called Party Chat. It's our Patreon exclusive podcast. If you're a $5 supporter, you can literally hear Janet and I talk about that exact thing for an hour. So
can we at least get a fog machine?
Yeah.
Like just a small, really
everybody gets their own individual one. I mean, we certainly saw plenty of fog juice at Spirit Halloween this week for New Show Plus. Sarah and I went to it, and they had like a whole wall of fog juice. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to choose that as like your primary display thing in a costume shop.
Right.
Like, no, we need an entire wall for the fog juice.
It's
all the same brand. They're all the same bottles. What the hell?
Sean Mills writes in. Oh, Leo.
How much would it cost for us to all get like the same background and the same desk, and so it would kind of look like we were all
like pretend like we're in person? That's hilarious.
Oh,
just one piece of an IKEA shelf that we all line up perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. That's interesting. So you just would trick it to make it look like we're all sitting together?
Yeah.
And I guess with the way the camera cuts it off, it would look like we're all just like barely leaning up over the edge of the table, like, oh, I'm ready to talk too.
Yeah, right. And you cut the box out of Discord and you have it kind of slotted into this full image of a set.
Right. Yeah, that's a Patreon goal. You're in charge of writing the description for it, though.
Okay.
Thank you. Sean Mills writes in and says, I've really been enjoying Marvel Snap that released this week from one of Hearthstone's creators, Ben Brode, I think is her name. It's a really interesting design for a card game. Matches last about 5 minutes. You can bet additional points at the end of a match if you think you're going to win, which can put you further up or down the ladder, leading to some really interesting mind games. That's a cool idea. Do you think this game has the potential to last for several years like Hearthstone, or will it be a flash in the pan like Artifact? God, I hadn't thought about Artifact for a while.
It's Artifact.
Artifact was Valve's card game. That was the future until it wasn't. Jeff, you've been playing Marvel Snap, right? What do you think?
I have. I apparently haven't unlocked the betting part of it yet, though. So that's kind of interesting. It's, I would say, probably less popular than Hearthstone, but it will lay in that comfy kind of zone where there's way more people playing it on mobile than we would ever acknowledge, and it will make all its money from whales probably for years.
But it's actually like a well-designed game, maybe compared to other cash-ins like Marvel Strike Force or something. No offense to Marvel Strike Force, but assuming. Yeah,
it's interesting in that it feels like a number of tabletop card games where you have a couple locations and you're putting out cards to like boost a number for that location, and it's just whoever has the larger number on 2 of the 3 locations at the end wins. So it's not a card battler like Hearthstone and the billion other card battler games like that. It's really more of a, and each card is a superhero, and most of them have a certain extra power that will affect either how much power they have, or other cards, or the different locations and all of that. So that's like a really core, interesting formula for it. I would definitely like to play it as a tabletop card game, but it just falls in that bucket. Yeah, it's a free to play game. It's built on that formula. I haven't run into any, like paywalls yet, but I certainly wouldn't expect to when it's only been out 2 days. I'm sure they want to sink their teeth into you before that. It has a season pass. It has multiple currencies, and just above and beyond that, I don't want to play a game like this where it's like they're constantly giving you missions to do, and there's like 3 different progress tracks that really are all just designed to get you to eventually put out money for it. And that's just where I fall off, and I'm not. I want the inverse of what was happening in the early 2000s, where we had like indie mobile developers would come up with a cool game and then corporations would shamelessly copy it.
Right.
Like, I want the indie developers now to take these interesting games that corporations are making and just make the $5 version of it without all of that crap in it.
The best thing I've heard in a long time. That is such a good idea. Yeah, rip off the corporations, everybody.
Rip them off.
Come on, like a Band-Aid. Leo, do you think that's tickling anything for you? Marvel Snap?
Well, it sounds like it's got some interesting stuff going on.
Okay.
I don't know. I've been having my Switch with me more, so I've been less needing of phone games.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
That's been cool. You know what I've been playing on Switch? Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Really? I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's all right. I mean,
hell yeah.
You rip off Breath of the Wild. Turns out that game was good.
Right.
Again, this is what you've been asking for. The rip off of
if it was a big gross free to play thing, yeah.
The shrines are really interesting puzzles. Like, I forget if Breath of the Wild shrines were as good. Certainly a lot about it was better, but there's a lot of really interesting shrines in Immortals.
I love that. What a cool choice. Talk more about that sometime, Leo. Not right now, certainly, but at some point. Andy Wera writes in to say, hey, what's something that's been bringing you joy recently? Other than Immortals Phoenix Rising, they wrote, which seems oddly specific. Is anybody?
Because I know it's not that.
I don't know. Jeff, what's bringing you joy, man? Other than your little bundle of it.
Yeah, we cleaned up our porch, which was really just like a staging area for empty Amazon boxes.
And that's the one that had the moose head in it?
Yep, with the moose head.
Okay.
But we cleaned it all out, and we put 2 old kind of comfy chairs out there. I've just been sitting out there. It's just gotten a little too cold to do it, but for the tail end of summer, I just go out there with my tea in the morning, sit out, it's open up all the windows, and it just good vibes for sitting on my phone.
Good phone vibes. That sounds lovely, man. Anybody else been brought joy by anything recently?
I've really liked having stuff to look forward to bring it back to the calendar scheduling conversation. Like a trip coming up next month that's going to be really fun, or just like a date night with my sweetie every week. It's like, it's nice to feel like you're working towards something that you really enjoy and then get the relief of that.
Yeah. Always have something
the anticipation
exciting.
adds a lot,
Yeah. Ooh, Janet, for the audio listeners, she's showing what is the most joyful thing I've ever seen in my life. And now I'm trying to understand.
I thought you were going to say, what is the only joy in my life? And I'm like, God, that's so depressing. Also, the fact that red flag to self, the fact that this question, I'm like, oh, so many thoughts run through my mind. I had nothing on my mind. Rough. I will reflect on that later in my dream journal or my nightmare diary. Mm-hmm. I started building, finally, after buying it literally like 2 months ago, the Lego Horizon set. And as you can see, I did not finish. The tall neck is not there, but the base is here. And honestly, it's been interesting trying to just dig into what do I do when I have nothing but free time for like a weekend, because that happens so rarely with my old schedule. And now I'm trying to bake in more time, and I'm like, I guess I'll build this. And then I'm like, oh man, I have a hard time relaxing. So I'm going to work on that. But as I work on that, I'm working on this, and it's fun.
You should just Google a ship in a bottle as well for your next phase of your relaxation. I think it'll really bring you.
Oh no, that's a little too much.
Okay.
That's a little too scary. This is already very intimidating to me. It's going okay so far. Are there extra pieces left over at every step? Absolutely. And it's stressing me out. Perfect. But hopefully at the end there's something on top of this. I don't know.
Eric Seal writes in and they say, spooky query for you. Get ready. Everybody listening, everybody at home, turn the lights on, unless you want to get freaked out. What do you think is worse in a ghostly encounter? Seeing a ghost and no one else can see it? Or not seeing a ghost that everyone else can see?
Can you restate that again?
Seeing a ghost and no one else sees it, or you don't see a ghost, but everybody else does. Is everyone screaming like, it's walking towards you? Like, that would be effed up.
A good multiplayer game all over.
That's true. Spirits Unleashed, for sale now.
They're both pretty scary.
They both are scary. I thought it was going to go the direction seeing the ghost, but then you would just...
Yeah, no one else sees it.
But I think I would just convince myself like, I didn't really see that. That's no big deal. But there's something about like everybody seeing it, especially even if you change the question to that, like everybody in the room saw a ghost, that's scarier. Right? Like knowing for sure that this thing is right there compared to just like, my eyes were seeing things.
But are you invincible? Sorry, Leo, you had a much more interesting story that you were starting. Your girlfriend saw a ghost?
My girlfriend is a ghost.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. Is that a recent thing?
Something to look forward to.
My girlfriend wears glasses, and when she's in bed without them on, she'll be kind of half asleep, dozing off, and think she'll see a figure in the room, because she's just seeing shapes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so she'll like sit up and sleep talk to it or whatever and be like, what is that? Who is that?
Who is that?
That's scarier than either of the two options.
Yeah.
It used to freak me out really bad, but now I don't have to check anymore.
I don't want to put all have you lay it all out there. I don't know. What does she say? Like, please don't stop stabbing me. Like what's going on?
The multiple times early on, she said, what the f-?
Oh no.
Which really scared me the first time it happened, really bad. Oh, but it's a sign that she's in a better headspace, enjoying her life more, because the last time it happened, she sat up the same way, but was like, hi, how are you?
Oof. Also rough. Is this
real? Is this story real? Or are
it's
you just
100% real.
I'm confused about, are her eyes open?
I don't know. It's dark.
Get rid of the rest of the questions. I just want to dive into this.
Yeah, what
this
is
the best
happening?
question.
Well, that's cool. Muffin Crumbs writes in and says, "Hey, Ben and company, I've got a game for y'all called Single Syllable Showdown. It's based on the card game Poetry for Neanderthals. Have you heard of this one, Jeffem?
I think I have.
How it works is I'll give you a video game title, and you have to try to get the group to guess it by only using single syllable words to describe it. Jeffem, could you open Slack? I'm going to send you the name of a game, and you have to describe it to Janet and Leo only using single syllable words. Okay. Let's see. And then Leo, I'll send you one as well, so you can really think about it in Slack here. And then Janet, would you like one as well?
Sure.
Okay, great. This is perfect.
I won't lose money on this, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll take anything if it's free.
All right, Jeffem. Single syllables.
Making sentences or just throwing out keywords?
I think sentences is better. So, all right, Jeffem, let's guess it. Here we go. What do we got?
Old time shoot hunt. I not end.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah!
There we go.
Way to go, Jan. I not end.
Can't say finish.
Yep. All right, Leo, what do you got?
Beat.
Okay. That's true. That would be much better.
Small green boy goes to place and
Legend of Zelda.
Time.
God, all of them are time. Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. No.
You're so
Blow
close.
in thing.
The Ocarina?
Okay. I should have said the word time, you know? I admit that.
It's a subtle hint. Yeah, Ocarina of Time. Way to go. All right, Janet, last one. What do you got?
Okay. Also, I did not think of anything yet. Okay, let's see. Gosh, hold on. That's me. Okay. Guy.
Oh, I got it. No, I just.
Well, you gave it to me. Of course, you have it. Guy fights crime
Okay.
as thing.
Batman.
Yes.
Arkham Asylum. Yeah, you got it, Leo. Way to go.
I was like,
he does fight it as the thing.
I got a sense you were trying not to say bat.
We
yeah,
can
well,
see
because
it.
I realized even though Ben didn't say it, I'm like, I'm sure you can't say any of the things
so-
in there.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Here's one. This.
Wait, you should be assigned it by us.
Well, look, I just got this list. I mean, if somebody wants to send me a new one, but there's one here that I haven't said yet that I haven't thought about. I swear.
Let's hear it.
Fine, go ahead.
All right. This time, the guy is blonde, and you go to see land, and it is good. 10 out of 10.
Okay. One, I genuinely haven't really had a lot of good guesses, but two, I was like, how long will he go if we just don't say anything?
I need cut
Resident Evil?
thing 6-1.
I need cut things. Blonde man? Final Fantasy? No. That's not right. Who wasn't blonde and became blonde? Do either of y'all know?
That's what I'm struggling with.
This time, guy is new and guys.
Oh, Metal Gear Solid 2?
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2. Way to go. Way to go. Whew, thank you. I need scissors 61. That was a weird deep cut.
Nice.
All right, what do y'all like for a question of the week?
I like the one with Leo's girlfriend seeing demons and
Ghost, the spooky query. Spooky query.
That was an interesting question, too.
That is true. Jeff, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, Spooky's good.
Spooky's good. All right, Eric Seal, congratulations. You just won a prize from
Spooky's
My8Bit.
good.
Thanks for supporting us. Now it's time for something that we like to call, get a load of this.
Spooky.
The spooky edition. All right, everybody got their spooky. Get a load of this. Jeff, scare the pants off us, dude.
Get a load of this. This isn't scary at all,
Cool.
But it may make you question all those math lessons you had in school.
Oh, no.
This is from Upworthy.com. It's a couple TikTok videos from a math professor named Howie Wah. And it's basically, he shows you that you can actually add and subtract big numbers from left to right. And it's actually easier and faster than doing it from right to left, like we've all been taught.
What? That's mind-boggling.
Watch the videos. It works.
All right.
It blew my mind. I'm rethinking everything now.
I love it. Just like your life in general?
Yeah.
Wow.
All the math I've done.
Now
backwards.
Cars drive him. Hey, get a load of this. I know we're all sick of talking about that queen that died, but I learned something recently on Wait, Don't Tell Me, and it blew my frickin' mind. Did you know that of all the things like King Charles will inherit from Queen Elizabeth II, he will also inherit thousands of swans, dolphins, whales, and sturgeon. Because officially, royalty, like the Queen of England, she technically owned all of the whales and dolphins and sturgeon that were within 3 miles of the UK shoreline.
That seems normal.
Isn't that bizarre? Like, just to have a decree from 1324, apparently, that, they recognized all of them as fishes royal. Just sent out a decree saying, yeah, all those whales, I own those. Truly bananas. There's a link below if you want to learn more about royalty owning all the sturgeon and why that's important. Leo, you got something?
Have we talked about this one yet? Nikki's Pizza Oblivion?
No.
It's a mod for Oblivion that lets you talk to a special character named Pizza Black, and you can order Domino's through your conversation.
And so it's a mod that's officially hooked up to Domino's?
There's some Domino's API
Wow.
that they can hook into Oblivion and let you order a Domino's pizza to your house.
That's amazing. I love it. Janet, you got one?
Yeah, get a load of this. Again, with the content or art or both or whatever. Someone, I saw this on TikTok, for Be Real, the social media app where it's like, take a picture and realty. If you watched all of Truck to Shrek to find out Leo's thoughts on Be Real. If he said that on content, which I now don't even know if he did. So it's like, front camera and back camera. And this guy, all of the photos he's taken, he's slowly been like moving so that he's walking, and he stitched them all together to make like this stop motion video. And it's so cool. And yeah, it's just like an interesting use of the platform that I wouldn't necessarily think to do with.
That's fun. Jeff, did you get one from the community, from the Discord?
Yeah, get a load of this. This one was from C. Mankey, and it's a Twitter thread from Emma Court, who is a reporter for Bloomberg Business, I think. And she went to this press conference, I guess, and she says, New York City is limiting the hours when trash is taken out because of issues with rats, and it's genuinely hard to pick a favorite quote from today's presser. And then she has multiple quotes from this press conference. First one, there are many rivers that are feeding the sea of rodents in the city, and today we're damming one of them.
Yes, I remember this.
The biggest swing you can take in cleaning up our streets is shutting down the all-night, all-you-can-eat rat buffet. And the next one is, rats will hate this announcement, which is cool. Another one was, rats don't run this city, we do.
I see no evidence of
and
that.
then, this is not Ratatouille, rats are not our friends. And finally, from the Department of Sanitation, the Department of Sanitation Commissioner Jessica Titch said, New Yorkers will not have to fear as many rats hiding in late night shadows.
Beautiful.
So it sounds like quite the press conference.
Love it. Links below for all this fun stuff. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching or listening to this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. If you enjoyed it, you can always tell a friend about it, share it online. We always appreciate that. Talk about it on Reddit, all those cool places people go. And you can help support it directly by going to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Last warning, everybody. If you're listening to this early, this Friday, October 21st, we're having our community meetup for our 3rd anniversary, and it's at Utapils Brewing. That is UTEPILS. We will be at Utapils Brewing, glad handing, kissing babies. That'll be at 7 p.m. Central, of course, because this is in Minnesota, everybody. So if you're in Minnesota, the Minneapolis area, coming out, we'd love to see you. You don't have to be a Patreon supporter, but if you're not, we will convince you to become one by the end of the night. I guarantee it. Also, in honor of our 3rd anniversary, we have new MinnMax merch. Hugo in the community, we contracted with him, and he made a bunch of new merch, which is awesome. He made merch because he's really passionate about it for House Hunter Rise, which is very cool. It's like he somehow made a Monster Hunter monster, but it looks like it's made out of a house. It is unbelievably cool. Also, he created an official mascot for MinnMax called Max the Minnow, which is adorable. So please check that out. There's going to be a link below for all this fun stuff if you want to find it. Also, he made a bottle of cream in honor of Steam Secret Stash. It's a long story, but if you watch that show,
gross looking. It looks cute.
It does look cute. Yeah, he made cream look cute. So check that out, everybody. Also, Party Chat, our Patreon exclusive podcast this week. We talked a lot about Kind of Funny Studio and how we want to grow at MinnMax and how we can learn lessons from them and whether we should try and follow in their footsteps every step of the way or how we can zig when they zag, all that fun stuff.
Things we can steal from the place.
That's right. We also talk about the finale for She-Hulk there if you're interested in that. On YouTube, Tabletop Game Night, Jeff and Sarah and I played through a full tabletop game. It was called Horrified. So it was a fun co-op game, so you can check out the archive of that stream on YouTube. That was a fun time. Also, a new episode of Kelsey Lewin's Collector Corner is going to be airing on Thursday on Twitch, and then the YouTube version will be up on Friday, so please check that out. Also up on Friday, we might have a certain bonus video where we talk about a certain God of War Ragnarok, so please check that out, everybody. It'll be in our YouTube channel, and then also in the bonus podcast feed if you're a Patreon supporter. Thank you to some of our biggest supporters at that $50 tier, the Game Champion tier. They can choose any game under the sun and lock it in and officially be declared the champion. So thank you to games.archer.com, of course, for being the champion of Crash Test Idiot. Speaking of Steam Secret Stash, these are games that we've played on there. Steve B is the champion of Jack 2. Andre Silva is the champion of Dark Cloud. Going back to it, Dark Cloud got really far in the poll last time for which game we're going to create bonus content about, so I love that Andres is sticking with it. All right, speaking of sticking with it, thanks everybody. We appreciate y'all being here, and until next time, Leo, take us out, dude.
You're going to want to do 3 things. You're going to want to be good, you're going to want to have fun, and you're going to want to let's go.
Yeah! Bye, everybody!